Welcome to another very exciting episode of TeqTalk, where we go beyond surface and discuss about AI, data, and how AI is reshaping different industries. Joining me today is an expert, Manjeet Singh, who is an AI expert and a fitness coach. So he is one of the core members at Salesforce who is building Agentforce. Welcome to the show, Manjeet.
Very happy to be here, Jess. Thanks for having me.
Right now, to start with, would you like to tell a bit about yourself, how this journey of AI started within you and this fitness journey as well? So there are two components we would like to know. So please.
Yeah, no, I think my answer is different based on who I'm talking to. But I think we all have some form of identity, and these days my identity is this interesting convergence of AI and fitness. And what I mean by that is these are literally two passions I have, and I'm thinking a lot about the AI is going to give us a lot of leverage, and now to use that leverage I also have to be energetic, and I also have to live more longer, more in a kind of a healthy years. So that's what excites me. Wake up in the morning, and so I would say I'm a daily practitioner of wake up in the morning, make sure I'm taking care of myself in terms of workouts and different form, and then I spend the rest of my day in working and building AI products. So I'm a PM working for Salesforce. Been in this space for a long time. Worked with I would say every size of the company, small startup. That's how I came to US. And then spent good amount of time with ServiceNow.
Yeah.
For 7 years, and I think I'm fortunate to do what I do, and no complaints, I would say.
Yeah. And you're pretty known face, by the way. You are an inspiration to many of us. It's not only on the AI space, but also your fitness, right? The videos you post, the fitness things you do, it's really inspiring. And hope a lot of viewers will watch this show and get inspired both in AI journey and your fitness space as well. Okay, so let's start with this AI agents, right? We have been seeing a lot of talks happening around AI agents, and you are one of the core persons who is kind of building Agentforce at Salesforce.
Yeah.
So one of the common misconceptions between AI agents and chatbots is that AI agents are more glorified form of chatbots, but actually that's not the truth, right? Both are fundamentally built on different paradigms itself. For example, if I tell any chatbot to book a ticket for me, it will
Right.
just go and find out the best ticket and see a couple of websites and propose to me the ticket price and all of that. But if I tell AI agent to book a ticket for me, it might go see multiple websites, it might go and see my preference, what kind of seats I want, and also just it can also go and look into the prices. If the prices are going down, it can suggest me. But I mean, there are a lot of things AI agents can do, and they are kind of autonomous solo executors, right?
Right.
So we have heard a lot about Salesforce Agentforce.
Right.
So would you like to talk a bit about Agentforce capabilities?
Yeah. So I think first let's start with, right? So what is the difference between, we have chatbots around for a while. Then we moved from chatbots to Copilot. Copilots, now we're talking about autonomous agent. I think the example you gave is a great one that, hey, I'm planning a complex international trip. Can this technology help me?
Yeah.
So I think one is looking at the jobs to be done. What kind of jobs to be done the previous version was able to do versus the new agent is able to do. So I think and it's important to look at the history and kind of evolution, like how did we get here? Even though it feels like, oh, all of a sudden LLM came along and it's hard to keep up, but it happens more gradually, right? And more like the innovation and the data layer, innovation and the infrastructure layers, and right. So that's how I think go on basic. Where a little bit of I think people challenge is what is a true definition of agent,
Right.
and I think the best way I think about it is something that can take action on your behalf. That's from the jobs to be done standpoint. And then now you can say, hey, in my personal life and my personal workflow, what are those examples? So, for example, booking a flight is that example. What is that example of my role? You pick any role that you let's say I'm a PM, product manager. So in my role, can this agent do the market research for me? Can this agent write requirement for me? Can this agent help design or at least build prototype for me? So I think the jobs to be done is super important. So one is this personal category of agent, then this role-based agent.
Yeah.
And the third is more specialized kind of an agent. So that's jobs to be done. The second thing is a little bit of more, since we are kind of, you ask about Agentforce, is the technology. What are those Lego boxes and building blocks that comes together and kind of create this agent? So I think there's at very high level 4 of them. One is the model. What is which brain, which models you are using. The second that comes down to is really defining what this agent is supposed to do, should do, and should not do. So think of it as a set of instructions, a set of guardrails as well.
Yeah.
That comes together. Then comes down to is memory, because it
Yeah.
has to
Very
remember
important.
your context, right? Because usually all the conversations, if you think about kind of a service agent, say multi-turn, right? So it should remember, okay, who is the user, what he or she responded, and then kind of, until the task is done. And the fourth layer is basically data and all the integration around it, because these models are pretty powerful. You don't want these models to make things up, specifically in a specific job scenario. And I tell people like, hey, you don't want your service agent to recite a French poetry, for example. This is designed to answer questions on my business, or let's say if I'm an e-commerce company and I have a set of product catalogs, so it should ground responses onto that. So I think this kind of bring us back, like what's the jobs to be done. So and if agents can do it autonomously on your behalf, then I think that's a good definition. And then these 4 pieces comes together that make this little bit of magic come to life.
Thank you. So very well explained, Manjeet. You mentioned about LLMs, right? So a lot of applications nowadays are using monolithic approach of LLMs, meaning one LLM is taking the input and providing the response. It might not be a great approach to use when you are in the enterprise kind of application or solution where you have a lot of dependency, you have a lot of touch points and a lot of scenarios basically, right? So for that, we have the concept of multi-agent orchestration framework. So would you like to talk a bit about how this multi-agent thing is happening, a little bit more in depth?
Yeah, sure. And I think before we go to multi-agent, first we were talking about like a singular task.
Yeah.
How good of a job that agent can do for one given task. I think that's where we are. If I think about a good agent in terms of accuracy and is it giving me the complete answer, and then the usefulness of this. So I think we have to take it more further, because that has to be really good from the adoption standpoint. And then, so I think that when you think of the best way to think about Agentforce is it's a platform. So it lets you build agent faster. So what we tell our customer is, if you can define what do you want, you can stitch it together by yourself, right? So that's basically low code, no code. For example, agent builder is a great capability. So you have a template to start with, like my service agent or my sales agent or marketing agent, and then based on who you are, customer, like what's your core business is, you tailor to that. And then it comes down to we were talking about data. You connect data with that. So I think that's where Salesforce has a lot of good capabilities already in the stack, right? MuleSoft is a great way to basically do API-based integrations. Data Cloud, if somebody don't have a good kind of a single solution that can unify and harmonize the data. So I think when you put all of this together, the data, the integrations, the agents, and combined with the CRM applications that we have, So that's where it becomes a very unique combination. So that's why we are very excited. I mean, fortunate to kind of work on at that middle and intersection of this, because the opportunity is enormous, right? And I think it's our responsibility as the Salesforce and as a PM working on this one is we want to provide best in class agent for CRM to begin with, and then expand from there.
Yeah.
So when we talk about expansion, right, that's when it comes down to, I would say,
Multi-agent.
multi-agent. And there's a two kind of expansion in to think about it is one is expansion within ServiceNow workflow. For example, my service agent talking to the sales agent and marketing agent, right? And to make it more concrete, let's say your service agent is serving your customers, right? Voice and text, and then if you need to get some information from the sales, you reach out to the sales agent, and sales agent is ready, right? So it's a 24/7 without stucking in the inefficiency and loop of waiting for humans to come live and answer. You serve the customers very fast, so that improves your customer experience, and then of course customer satisfaction at a very low cost.
Yeah. So, is there any scenario when you have multiple agents in sales, for example, multiple agents in sales and multiple agents in service for one input?
So we are working on that. I would say if you're more referring to is that product or is already out, the answer is no, as we are recording this. Right now, think of it as service agent is a standalone. You can, of course, integrate with different data sources, and right. So that's, but still, it's not like one agent is handing off to the other agent, because there's a bunch of things that needs to be in place when I think about this interoperability between the agents.
Yeah.
And we will, of course, do it for our agent first. But I think that too is we are just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
To me, the real unlock is the enterprise agent able to communicate, talk, and do the handoff with the consumer agent, right? So let's go back to, I think that will be a good scenario here. Your flight booking experience. You are a consumer, right? And then as you see, either your agent is reaching out to for book a flight, or it's a human plus agent. So it's again kind of a consumer use case. But the company who is helping and booking your flight or whatever that portal is, that's more of the enterprise scenarios. So now how all of them can collaborate. So I call this like 5 things, important thing. One is, of course, what is the communication protocol between them? Right now, most of it is happening through API, or you call it kind of function calling. But to me, that's not enough, because in API, what you do is, hey, this is my input and output, pretty much, right? And it's very deterministic. But here, no, you want to look at the whole context. How much do you know about the customers? And then, right, all the previous conversations, and then the data shapes are different. And at the same time, you don't want it to be like very heavy, like a super big prompt. And then I think you'll have to deal with it, speed and other things. The second thing is metadata. I think at Salesforce product, metadata is a key differentiator, because what should be the metadata of all these different agents? Because once you understand that metadata shape, it's easier to design that collaboration. So I think that's where, as an industry, we have to work together. For example, how Salesforce agent talk to Google agent and OpenAI agent.
Yeah, I think that is the future, right?
Right,
That
right.
different
But
agents from different companies, organizations are talking to each other.
yeah, but I think and it will be journey and maturity. The kind of the way I think about it is, first is we really have to make these, service agent, sales agent, marketing, commerce, these really useful. And I think the technology is there, but we have to stitch it together and then optimize.
Right.
And I think we can talk about optimize later on. That's super important, because every company who is playing in this space, the one big gap is, what is the tool chain? How do I test these systems? How do I monitor them in production? If they start to hallucinate, how would I know? So I think that's where
that is another
yeah,
very
yeah.
important factor. Yeah, absolutely. Very well answered, Manjeet. Another question which I had is, so LLMs, they have one of the biggest issue, like you also mentioned, they do not have persistent memory, right? Right now, LLMs are using some external tools, for example, a LangChain or a Viviet and all of that to get the memories for longer time. So how Agentforce is actually working under the hood? So
Yeah. Yeah.
for retaining such long term, because if you're talking about multi agents, they need to have some context, right? From they just cannot have every time a new context of the event which is going to happen.
Right.
So how it's happening in Agentforce?
Yeah. So in our stack, I think at a very high level is one is model. And in model, our strategy is very open. We have some of our own models. We also use, I think, pretty much all the kind of frontier models as well. OpenAI, Google, and customer also has
Yeah.
flexibility. I think that's and that's
Bring
how it
your own LLM, right? As well.
correct. Yeah. So
Yeah.
so I think that's is because these models are getting better, and then ITEL is like, hey, I don't fall in love with the knot. Uh, but I think the core of your question is that in a single agent, longer conversations, and specifically in the multi agents. So that's where we build out our own. You might hear that we will say, hey, Atlas Visioning Engine. So that does two things very, very well for CRM specific task. So one is the reasoning part itself, because you ask a question or give it a goal, like, hey, I want to find out what are the top 10 opportunity in North America and order them by, their revenue plus this, whatever, right? You can have the multi-step. So this reasoning engine can take that as a goal, that this is what do you want as a user, and then it decides what actions to trigger in those.
Okay.
And that's where we also have the memory components. So it keeps the kind of the context until the whole conversation is finished.
Yeah.
So think of it as your one way to think about it is your conversation.
So how does it know that, okay, this is the time to end the conversation and all done and I need to forget now? What is the forgetting mechanism?
Yeah. So I think the one way to see is if you use, let's say it's very similar, like if you use Chat GPT, right? And then if you're talking into one thread, so that's basically one conversation. But if you click on plus, that which means you are kind of switching the context.
Yeah.
So that's one sort of abstract level. The second is we also have a time concept. So, for example, let's say
Idle time, right? Or
ideal
something.
time, or I would say we have a 24-hour window.
Okay.
So, for example, let's say I started conversation with agent, and then we started having coffee. My session is still open, and if I come back after 30 minutes, and then so right now we have like at least in service agent case the 24-hour window, unless you are going as like, hey, I want to start a new conversation with plus button or refresh.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering how it's gonna happen. Consider example of financial institution, right? So if we are giving, just let's take an example of loan approval, right? So that has got multiple divisions. So risk assessment, for example, credit check, regulations, compliance, and many more.
Right.
So if agent is going to handle that, it would be definitely multi-agent, right? So how would memory come into the picture, and how, because these things which I have mentioned, these buckets of a risk assessment and background check and credit score,
Right.
and all of that, so it cannot be done in 24 hours.
Right.
Might take some more time.
Yeah.
So how it's going to handle such kind of scenarios?
Yeah. So we have one is, I think, the more technical level. We have our own memory layer.
Okay.
But if I have to explain this, if you have read this book, right, the slow thinking and fast thinking, I think that's one type of use cases you see. And so I think the fast thinking example is if you're directly talking to any of these LLM like Gemini or ChatGPT. you expect the answers to be quick, right? Hey, don't think too much, right? But then we are also seeing these use cases where we are deliberately asking the model to take this goal, take as much time as you need,
Mm-hmm.
and then think deeply about it, reason with yourself before you give me the answer, review yourself, break that into the task and those. So I think that's where you see that capability is coming at the model level, right? So let's say in case of OpenAI, all these O series models, they have that reasoning layer. And
Now they have started, right, where they have some memory parameter and we just enter the memory parameter and can stay for as long.
yeah.
So,
So I think now the question comes is like, do you rely on the memory that these models are? So of course you will leverage that. But then from the entire workflow standpoint, let's say if you look at a scenario where a service agent is handing off, then you need the I call it a kind of a supervisor agent memory part. So that's what we will have in the platform. But I think the good news is if you go like 9 months ago, there was like blank statement. Hey, LLM have no memory.
yeah.
But now these reasoning based model, they do have memory. They can tell like if you have tried deep research or all of this, you ask it to research, and then it's like it'll take 15 minutes. So that's a slow thinking, right? If you ask me, and I think the real question is people should understand is there are a lot of tasks and questions where you don't have to think deeply.
Yeah.
But then if the problem is complex, if it's deep, then you don't want to answer the first answer you find out. I want you to kind of reason. Let's say if you ask me about a complex question, I want to like, okay, give me some time, let me think about it.
Yeah.
So it's the same way, I think, these models, and that's where you will see all these frontier labs, they're talking about, hey, we are able to solve more PhD level questions now because we can think for longer than them.
Yeah. Very well said, Manjeet. Another point I wanted to talk about agent forces that we have seen that enterprise automation, right? It's not something new. The rule based RPA or decision tree, or there are a lot of other processes as well. How does agent force is different from deterministic workflows or decision tree workflows?
Yeah, so one is we can talk about the technical differences, a little bit of going back to at each layer, right? I call it kind of AI sandwich.
Mhm.
What are the difference at, let's say, at the compute layer or right, or at the model layer, or what's the difference at the application, the actual usability experience. But I think the more important part in there is that what value it is bringing compared to the previous, let's say, the type of automation.
Yeah.
So the previous type of automation was more assistive. It's more like, hey, I'm doing this job or
Mm-hmm.
task, then I can use this tool. In fact, last year we had one product called Copilot
Copilot.
that was built for pretty much the all the, let's say, employees you have, and that's still a very, I think, important use case because in a company you want to empower all your employees to have their kind of own agent. Everybody has question about HR, everybody has question about IT. So where can they go and then get the services? So I think, but then the main thing is that this ability to do not just a single task and multiple tasks. So I think one was like based on the kind of agents we talked about. Okay, the importance of memory layer, importance of context, and the more complex use case we go, it the more it has to be rock solid, right? You have to preserve it, and it has to be fast
Mm-hmm.
because there are use cases where if you think about more than 5-second latency is not acceptable. I talk to customer, they're like, hey, if the agent respond me in 10 seconds, probably it will not work for us. Right? Voice agent, I'm very bullish about because I think that's that's going to unlock a lot of productivity and then reduce the cost for all these call center scenarios. And I'm sure when you call Comcast or any of those, nobody wants to be on the phone for 20 minutes and 30 minutes.
Exactly. And repeating the same thing to multiple agents,
Correct.
human agents.
So, and then on an average, all of those phone calls somewhere cost between $5 to $20. Let's say if you look at, okay, $10, for example, on the lower side, what if these agents can bring you down for $2, right? So a little bit of hinting that this $2 per conversation for service agent, it's a huge saving, right? And if you are one of, let's say, the retailer or utility company, or right, and the volume is so high, and if your cost is coming down from that $10 per interaction to $2, I think this would excite everybody. But of course, the question is it as good as human, right? In some cases it is. I tell it's never get tired, it never takes break, it has no ego, 24/7, and then it comes with all those benefit. And then most important characteristics of, I think, going back to the previous form of automation is, can this technology learn? What is the learning mechanism? Because end of the day, whatever use case you start with, you'll be like, 50% is it's working okay. I asked 3 questions, 2 are good, 1 is not good. But the beauty is, if you tell, hey, this is the response I like, this is the response I don't like, give 3, 4 examples, and then next time you will come and it's like pretty much all 3 of them will. So I think there's this learning mechanism, the feedback loop, that's new. I mean, the concept-wise we were talking about in the previous as well, but now it's becoming real. I'm super happy about reinforcement learning and then fine-tuning, and then because that's how you will push the boundary of, you start with 60% accuracy, how to go to 70, 80, and 90.
Yeah, and I think testing is really important, because I'll give you my personal example. One of the days I was just prompting ChatGPT that, okay, can you define this for me? And it started giving me some output, which was pretty impressive. Then I thought that let's ask the source. I started checking what is the source. It started giving me the sources as well. So when I went to the source and started checking the link,
Right.
and there were actual pages, but nothing was mentioned which was referred by ChatGPT.
Right.
So that was a kind of wrong information which is being provided. So still, I mean, I think the LLMs need to get mature enough. They are still into not that stage. I don't know if you have faced this, but do try. You'll feel that this is real. Okay, I have got the link. Sometime you'll think that, okay, it has provided me the link. What is the need to even go and check there?
Right.
So that is what.
No, I 100% agree, and that's the reason. In fact, last few months I spent on building testing capability, because you cannot rely on models. Because see, the challenge is, this example of OpenAI is, see, it's trained on the internet data.
Right.
So there are pages which are cached pages versus real pages. The information have changed when you scrap the data, get the data, and then train, right? It takes time. That information may have 25% change. Now it's giving you the citation link, and you're going there, and it's like, hey, it's not exactly that. But see, what LLM end of the day they're doing is they are compressing this world's knowledge, distilling it into this smaller model. But if the information is changing pretty fast, then I think you need to continue to refresh. I think I like Perplexity because specifically in this use case, if you want to go more information, it's pretty good. Gemini is also getting pretty good. But I think the enterprise case, you have to create your test scenarios.
And see what LLM is actually working for you.
And then it's an iterative process. You test it, and you'll find gaps. Then you look into, let's say, your agent interactions, why people are reaching out to us, right? And
so can we create a testing agent as well who can just go and test around? And report back. Do we have this capability in Agentforce?
So we are building it because, see, when you think about this multi-turn simulation use case, single turn we have it. So in fact, if you go to testing center today, which is part of the Agentforce, right? So agent builder, agent testing.
Okay.
So basically, let me step back. The best way to understand is, how do I build an agent? So you need standard capability. So we have that covered. But then you want to gain confidence with testing with different scenarios, positive scenario, negative scenario, all these like prompt injection type of use cases, because I don't want my agents to not only give the make up the answers, but also not reveal my data, right? The data leak and those scenarios. So you can create those test data sets. So your testing center has AI assisted test data generation.
Okay.
And then you add more from your subject matter expertise for your given use case. Now you are confident, you deploy that agent and then monitor what's happening. Look at the log. Yeah. So think of, if it's a service agent, you'll be looking into all the conversations that are happening. How many of them it deflected and solved? How many of them it went off topic? So if something is going off topic, then the opportunity for you is, hey, is it a knowledge gap? Can I go ahead and create a knowledge and then it starts to answer?
Yeah.
Or do I need to give a new skill? Or when I say skill, think of action.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of the iterative loop. And the teams that are iterate faster, I think those are the one I'm seeing, able to build better, reliable, and accurate agents. So it's a typical software development lifecycle sort of team.
Yeah. That's pretty impressive that we have a testing agent as well inside Agentforce.
Right.
So what do you see the future of Agentforce? What kind of things are, since you are developing it, right? You're one of the core members. So you might have got like 3 years plan or 5 years plan that, okay, Agentforce would be this in the future.
Yeah.
So what are some of the amazing capabilities we are going to see of Agentforce?
Yeah, sure. I think it's hard to predict future today because things are changing so fast. But if you look at kind of the main narrative and then what Mark Benioff and I believe like our leadership team is kind of talking about is, hey, it's a digital labor platform. And that's basically pretty big scope if you think about it, is right. If you look across the roles, your service roles, your sales and marketing, and then that's where a lot of labor spend is going.
Yeah.
So now, can you contain that spend, or can same set of people do more, like smaller teams doing more? Can you basically improve your customer satisfaction and others? So I think that's where we see the biggest opportunity from business standpoint right now, and we want to give the best agents in that, at least in the CRM world, and then go beyond. I think that when I say this beyond, that's where it opens up bigger opportunity for us. Like, hey, what's stopping us from, let's say, doing those tasks into ERP systems or Workday. In fact, Workday is our partner now, and we are trying to build better together use cases. So I think from a business standpoint, it's a multi-pronged strategy. The partnership, our agents. In fact, think of it as your app store for agents. Opportunities for folks like you. You're like, hey, let's build our agents, put it into the app store, that entire the community. Just like we have App Exchange.
Yeah.
So the agent exchange. Yeah. But I think the power is in that ability for these agents to act on your behalf. Can we trust them? Those fundamental questions will still kind of continue to haunt us for a long time. And then this non-deterministic nature, how do we really find the balance between non-deterministic? Let's use the creativity of these agents, but at the same time stitch them together in a way where it's become semi-deterministic.
What are you seeing in market that organizations are facing challenges while adapting this kind of platform? So what kind of challenges they are having that they're saying that, okay, we will wait and watch for some time and then maybe in future we'll adapt?
Yeah. So I think there's different. So first of all, it's amazing traction for a lot of excitement. Every customer is like, "Hey, can I build for my this use case and that?" In fact, when we announced in Dreamforce, people came and then they created more than 10,000 agents. Um, so all that is exciting. I think the real test is how many of those agents are in production, and how many of them are I call them repeat customers or really engaging with these agents again and again. So there is a maturity curve in there. So that of course, there is early adopters, and then those are the ones like customers. There's a lot of logos, success stories we have on the website now from different domains, right? The retailers to the others, and then and I think when you see as a product, as part of the product team, when I see those stories, then it's like, okay, looks like kind of we are doing the right thing and building it the right way. But I think there's still a long way to go, to be honest, because these things are evolving fast. And if you are a customer and still, to your point, is like, yeah, maybe let me wait for another kind of 2 quarters.
Coming to the another side of your life, which is a lot into the fitness, I would like to know what are the common things between training a human body and training a AI model?
Yeah. No, that's a really good question, actually. And so
Maybe adaption is
right,
one of
right.
the things.
No, I
right?
think and let me really draw some parallelism, which are super super. I think in terms of like the common thread. So one is in fitness. I'm a strong believer of cross training. That you should not be just doing one type of training. Like if the people who say, "Hey, I just do yoga," or people who say, "I just do running," and then I'm like, "Great, great," but are you doing strength training? Are you doing breathing exercises? So that's what kind of the cross training means. And what if you don't do this, then the main thing is you're kind of overfitting into one side. The same is true with these models and AI, because if you don't train them with diverse set of data, diverse set of examples, then they have a very narrow view. If you're doing yoga, like it's a lot of yoga, of course you'll be flexible, but anytime you will have to lift weight, you'll injure yourself. So I think that's kind of the one in here is the second is the feedback loop we were talking about earlier. Is anybody, I would say, who is serious about fitness should be very observant of, hey, I am doing these workouts, a little bit of do measurement, adjust, improve, push yourself. Same is true with the AI. If once you have this feedback loop through implicit and explicit, that's how it get better. So I think that's how you get better in the fitness. That's how you get better in the AI as well. And then I think a lot about like what are the kind of the core meta skills in both. And I have my two favorite in those two areas, and I tell people that if you just do these two, that's it. You don't have to do anything else. You are golden. Okay. So happy to share those.
Yeah, please. We are fortunate.
Yeah.
Listen to those two golden truths.
Yeah. And the way to think about it is, it's like, hey, 80-20 rule. And I challenge it further. Like, what is the basically 80% benefit and then 80% of 80%? And so let's start with fitness. I think in the fitness, we talk about, I need to eat healthy, I need to be exercising, I need to be low stress, I need to be hydrating. It's just a lot. You can't do it. And that's where people is like, no.
Motivation, basically.
Is there a one or maximum two things? So that's where I'm compressing, just like LLM compress. The core of it is you start with fixing your sleep, high quality sleep. I'm okay with if somebody sleeps 6 hours versus 8 hours. I think that's a little bit of personal, depending on how. But
you're talking about the sound sleep.
good sleep, consistent pattern, not like one day I'm sleeping at 8, 9, other day I'm sleeping at 2 a.m. and then, right? So that then if you're doing that, then forget about fitness. I think you'll barely kind of if you sleep, if you are well rested and sleep, wake up and the first thing you can do is the workout. So basically, the high quality sleep, morning workout, just do these two things. Everything else will start to fall in place. And that's, I've been doing this for more than 2 decades now.
Wow, that was
and it's very efficient. I mean, people say, oh, you put videos and then how many hours you're working? And I'm like, maybe 20 minutes a day or 30 minutes a day.
I think that is very, very well said, because discipline is more important, right?
Right.
Even if you are working out 1 hour or 30 minutes or 6 or 40 minutes, but you are doing that consistently in very, very routine manner, religiously following that, right? So that is more important. It is so hard to do. It's so hard.
No, I think it's not hard. You have to build a system around it. For example, you have to sleep on time.
Great piece of advice. And we have also seen that you have launched your own newsletter. Newsletter was there, but you have launched your own classes, right? Related to AI. Would you like to talk and that our viewers can see and enroll?
Yeah. No, I think so. I'm going to try a couple of things this year because what I realized is in this space of AI, the more you share, the more you have conversation like this. That's the best form of learning. And as I read a lot and then optimize my reading and learning, and then that's kind of comes down to prompting, and then so I'll be writing more often. A little bit of long form writing. I think that's the main difference, because we can tweet and then put on small LinkedIn post, but pick a topic which is a little bit of hard to understand, or the I call them like deep thinking sort of scenario. And usually I sit down on Saturday morning after my workout, and then so my goal is to put out one good piece at both these intersection, AI and fitness. And so quickly about this free class I'm doing. So I'm part of a couple of communities here. I'm from Haryana, so one of the communities, Haryanvi Bay Area Association.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of people from the community is like, hey, you work in this space, and can you share something and an ad hoc session? And I was a little bit of doing those one-on-one phone conversations. I'm like, okay, let me structure it, and I'll spend 1 hour every Saturday. So we started it. We had 50 plus participants last week, and then now it's crossed 100.
Wow,
So
that's really great.
Yeah. So no, I think that makes me. In fact, another thing I'll tell you, the strong observation is people ask me like, hey, how do you learn? Is figure out that, do you learn fast by reading? Do you learn fast by listening audio like podcast or others? Do you learn fast by teaching? Of course, you have to read and then before you teach, kind of. What I found is I am a great auditory learner. So consume a lot of podcasts, and it fits into my routine. I'm cooking, I'm in the gym, and those I'm consuming whatever latest in the. And then if I'm like, okay, I have this kind of the mental model. Of course, there are some gaps, but when I'm teaching it, my dots connecting faster than that. So I think it's a little bit of for self purpose as well, and also hopefully people will find it helpful.
Yeah, definitely. These two things are really, really good and good initiatives, Manjeet. And definitely, I hope you get more and more viewers and subscribers so that we form a good community, right? And exchanging the learnings from each other. So that's amazing. And thank you so much for sharing all the insights with us. It was deep dive into AI, Agentforce, and even fitness. So great combination. And thanks again.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, no, I think the life is about having good conversations, and so I enjoy it. And beautiful office here, and thank you.